Hello everyone who's attending. Thank you for your time. Look, we have a jam-packed session here just for half an hour to really introduce to you Microsoft Dynamics 365 and look how Dynamics 365 unifies business technologies and how important that is. The two presenters today that you hear from is myself, I'm the Sales Director at Microchannel, and also Tim Shaw, Solution Architect at Microsoft Business Solutions. So look, let's just jump straight in. Just from an agenda perspective today, just to how we thought it would be great to convey how Microsoft Dynamics 365 unifies businesses is just give you a quick understanding of why Microsoft finds unifying businesses so important, give you the journey that Microsoft has taken to get to the point where we are today, and really highlight the reasons why. Microsoft is the leader, has a unique proposition on unifying your business technology with Dynamics 365. Please note we will have time for questions at the end, so please feel free to add questions into your chat, and we'll address those later on. But just as a start, when we talk about unifying business technologies, there are these, I guess you call them, 4 tenets that Microsoft has been focusing around for a very long time, and that's the 4 you can see here, which is empowering your employees to do more and do better, engage and enabling them to engage customers, optimizing your operations so that around productivity, doing more internally with less, and really transforming whatever your market offering is, whether it's products, whether it's services, making sure that has been optimized as well. So they're the sort of the 4 tenets, making sure that what we're doing has those final benefits. But let's just take a quick step back, because it really just gives an understanding of why Microsoft has come to where it has today. But the journey of unifying business technology really started back in 2001 for Microsoft and the purchase of Great Plains. When they purchased Great Plains, there was another application that they had in their stable called Solomon, and that was their first toe into the water of what is called ERP solutions. So your financials and your operations, warehousing, inventory, as well as all your general ledger and chart of accounts. That was their first purchase into there. And at that time, I remember it quite well. And it's like, why are they going into this? This is not where Microsoft plays. Then a year later, they purchased an application or a company called Navision. And 6 months before that acquisition, Navision and another ERP system called Exapta, or it was DamGuard Exapta, had combined. And so again, when Microsoft purchased Navision, they actually purchased another 2 ERP applications. So by the middle of 2002, Microsoft owned 4 very mature ERP systems. At the time, these, 20 years ago, these were world-leading applications, and what they've become today, that hasn't changed. Microsoft, for the first time, created a division called Microsoft Business Solutions. Obviously, Microsoft was very well known, but not for business solutions. So that was the start of a division that is now more than $3 billion US in turnover. Then we just focused on all the ERP, the accounting, financials, operations software in business. And in 2003, they released their first version of CRM 1.0. And so all of a sudden we had an organization within just a very few years start to invest heavily, billions of dollars inside business applications. And the question that people asked at the time was why? Why has Microsoft done this? Now, at the time, for those who have been around long enough, they had a very high market share from personal productivity, particularly the 2 logos you see there of Excel and Outlook, and that's part of the Office stack back then. But they couldn't provide the same level of benefit to businesses. Personal productivity was amazing, they had market share, but they needed access to the structured data that businesses were using. So that's the ERP and CRM data. They needed access to that data to provide superior value to businesses, and they didn't have that, and that's why they got in there. So they could actually increase their market share of their technologies in business. So that was 2003, but very quickly from 2003, when Business Solutions started, very quickly market expectations soared and everything became much more demanding. And I remember hearing these things: to stay competitive, you must deliver your goods and services for faster, better, cheaper. To maintain customer loyalty, you must address individuals' personal preferences. And this real soaring change in market demand was again driven by technology. And if you think about, I guess Amazon is a great one, not even Microsoft and technology, but cloud technology was even coming in 15 years ago, in that people were expecting things to be done cheaper, to have more access. And then all of a sudden, later on in the decade, Apple really pushed all that cloud computing technology into the hands of people. And I have my favorite iPhone there, which is the iPhone 3, into people. So all of a sudden, people had control. So what was Microsoft's response to that? First, the slogan, or the division of Microsoft Business Solutions, that changed to Microsoft Dynamics. And that was very important because it acknowledged that it wasn't just about having access to data. It was that the demands of businesses are changing so fast that this is where the word dynamics came about, that it was to acknowledge that they need to continually change to those rapidly changing market and customer expectations of their customers. Then just going through a bit of a timeline here, and some of the things that Tim and I remember as happening. First, really early on, it was quite big to be able to view and manipulate your financials and operations and your customer and marketing data in Excel. We would demonstrate ERP and CRM software by showing its interoperability with Excel. But I think really technology changed at the end of that decade, where all of a sudden we're able to have all sales data and all customer data offline and on the road, so that the sales warriors could take that offline and on the road to their customers and talk face to face with that data. Excel, that everyone was obviously using, but there was Excel, everyone used to call it Excel hell. We had all these versions of spreadsheets everywhere. All of a sudden, Microsoft was able to make the ease of use of Excel to be a powerful and comprehensive reporting tool. And when people were using Excel, it wasn't having data stored everywhere. It was all real-time data. And whoever was viewing that data was getting a different set of data being shown to them, because all of a sudden, Microsoft was able to have all of its ERP and CRM and productivity tools like Excel all on the one security. So they had the full security with Active Directory. So it didn't matter where you're accessing your business data from, you still had that full security and control. And then further to that, then there was the native two-way connectivity between your, particularly your financials data and your inventory data and Excel, again with all that security and data checking. So we could export journals or export price lists or customer data, manipulate it in Excel, then just press a button and push that back up to your ERP and CRM. And again, they were huge advances 10 years ago for people to be able to do things faster with business data. And then, look, I think a big thing, particularly now in the last year, when you think about how people are working remotely, Microsoft released web clients in 2013, where people could access their ERP and their CRM data from everywhere. And I think that was a huge change of what happens. And now today, all the Dynamics applications, it's web only. There's nothing that isn't fully accessible today. But I think that was a big change. So that was some of the things that Microsoft was doing over those last 20 years. But ever since 2003, bringing ERP data and functionality in CRM and those office functionality together was always a major focus. But it really became critical in that last bit. In that 2010 to 2016, Microsoft's massive focus was doing this, and this terminology of we need to bring down information silos. That was a big comment, that in all the customers that we were talking to, we needed to increase the information visibility so that people at all levels, be it the person answering the phone or at reception or the CEO, that they had the data of their whole business without information silos, just to make those right decisions, not just strategic decisions, but just decisions every day in their day-to-day job. So that was really big 10 years ago and kept on pushing through. Productivity was still a big thing. And again, that customer service and loyalty, that became just you needing the front and back offices needing to work together. And I think that's something that particularly anyone who's got any business to consumer customers, but even B2B customers, that's been huge, a big focus. So Microsoft's response, and why I stopped at 2016, was in 2016, July 2016, Microsoft changed from being Microsoft Dynamics, or the business applications division being Microsoft Dynamics, to Microsoft Dynamics 365. And what cloud computing has enabled Microsoft to do in these last 4 or 5 years has been immense. And the technology has been able to really push that whole merging of ERP, CRM, and Office data together. And this is where really I wanted to start today, but I thought it was important that many people even today, sometimes they go, oh, I obviously know Microsoft, but Microsoft has these mature, comprehensive suites, business application suites that have been fully re-architectured over the last 20 years. As I said, when they got involved in business applications, these were mature and comprehensive systems, but Microsoft has totally rewritten them from a technical perspective to provide the advantages of digital transformation today. So I just wanted to really quickly, just to show a few examples. I was thinking of getting one of our pre-sales consultants here to give you a quick demonstration, but just from a time perspective, I just wanted you to quickly see what we're doing at the moment. So just this first sample scenario is just looking at one of our ERP systems and Outlook together. So in this scenario here, please pretend you're sitting in front of your Office 365, you're in Outlook looking at your emails, and an email comes in to your inbox. And this is just one of the standard demonstrations. And if you're obviously wanting to investigate Dynamics 365 further, we'll make this more relevant to you, but I'm hoping that you can visualize this in your business. But an email comes in. What has happened with this email is that Outlook and its connectivity through the cloud and cloud technologies has been able to identify that this particular person and this email address sits inside our ERP system, our accounting system, and has brought up, in this case, it's the Business Central, and there's two ERP systems that Microsoft offers. In this case, we're using Business Central here, but has noticed, I know that person because that person's email address is sitting inside Business Central. So I'm actually going to bring up this particular customers or this particular contact's account in case the user wants to do anything in it. And in this case, the Microsoft application here has noticed that it's got this invoice number, and it's saying, could you please forward a copy of invoice and a number here? And what the Microsoft technologies have done is said, okay, I recognize this, and they actually hyperlink it. That means that I can actually click on it and get more information about it. So when you actually click on that, it gives you more information. So the information inside our ERP system, which has come up automatically on the right-hand side, and when I hover over that invoice, says, okay, here is all the information about that invoice that I've been able to identify that you're interested in. And has actually, in this case, they're asking to please forward a copy. So the system, and this is a part of, I guess, what you call that artificial intelligence or cognitive services, has been able to say, I believe you want to send an invoice back to this person. So, and that's what Outlook has allowed the user to do here. So click on send. Once they click on send, automatically that invoice has, as a PDF, which is the setting that's been set up, has been brought inside Outlook. And this user can now address that email using information sitting in the ERP system without even leaving Outlook. So again, just a quick scenario there of Microsoft bringing those different worlds together. And just further on that, so again, just using another email, I just wanted to highlight to what level this now is out of the box. So same email, same situation comes up. In this case, it's we are after a new table or desk. Could you please provide us a quote? Again, Outlook in the way that Microsoft has natively connected ERP and CRM and Outlook worlds, has said, okay, this is it. You're after a sales quote, has brought up sales quote, and said, okay, let's create the sales quote. And then what the application has done, what Microsoft has done is gone, we think based upon the information we're reading inside this email, you're after a new desk or table, we can find automatically, we think it's either one of these two that we think you want to quote. So it's telling the user, I've been through the database, looked at your email, we think that you want to quote for this, is this correct? Yes, it's correct. Tick the box. And then again, being able to send it straight from inside Outlook. So again, just wanting to show those and being able to post it again, being able to have that information coming straight up whilst in Outlook. So all that can happen all inside. And that's the sort of just examples that Microsoft is now doing in all of our customers who are implementing Dynamics 365. But that's where the cloud, so I just wanted to highlight where cloud technologies have been able to really give advances from a productivity perspective, in this case, customer service perspective, that obviously levels we've never seen in the past. But just wanting to address what Dynamics 365 is, because when Dynamics 365 came out, as I said before, in that real big focus for that last 15 years, a big part of that was bringing ERP functionality and CRM functionality together. And even just 4 years ago, this was what Dynamics 365 was from a what you might call a first-party application. So we had some CRM functions of sales and field service and marketing and customer service. So they're typically what people would call the CRM functions. And there's the ERP functions of financials and operations. So all your manufacturing, warehousing, all of those logistics. And APAR from your financials, multi-country, multi-company consolidations, eliminations, all those sorts of applications there. So that's typically what Dynamics 365, even 4 years ago, was. And obviously, I was probably missed out on human resources there. Human resources is one of those applications as well. But today, even 4 years later, what Dynamics 365 is now so much more than CRM or ERP. There's a number of what I might just call niche solutions, using things like Talent and LinkedIn and customer voice surveys, gamification areas there. And then Microsoft has also brought to the table a whole range of artificial intelligence solutions that are designed to gain more insight, more benefit out of data. So the more data that these modules have, the more insight, the more productivity, be it from a fraud perspective, or if you're a financials insight from cash flow, all the way to customer. Why are my customers not talking to me in these sections or other sections, or where should I be putting more marketing or more sales resources into? To the extent where we've now got mixed reality solutions, and that's probably, there wouldn't be too many on this particular call that would do that. But the point is that all Microsoft's business application innovation is now coming underneath this Dynamics 365 division department that is available to customers. In many ways, it's start where you need to start, what the number one objective is, the most urgent priority, but then Microsoft brings its full R&D and innovation to you through Dynamics 365. But even in the last 2 years, this particular platform has gone to areas that as I said, Tim's been doing this a little bit longer than me, didn't think possible. And you might hear of Microsoft using this term, the common data service, because Microsoft has always been, for 20 years, has been in this unique position where it's always had access to that more productivity, unstructured data of your Excel, Outlook, but SharePoint, Teams, all those areas, and that's so much bigger now today. They now have Azure, whereby Microsoft has services in your business. Your business might be impacted by weather. It might be impacted by prosperity of particular postcodes, ethnic profiling of postcodes, where your particular goods and services are most used by. That sort of data can be brought in to the Microsoft technology platform, again through Azure. And obviously we've been speaking about Dynamics 365. But what Microsoft has done is they've standardized, they've normalized that data. So a customer, we looked at Outlook before, a customer in Outlook, a contact in Outlook has been standardized by Microsoft and the Common Data Service to be a customer or a contact inside your Dynamics 365 ERP or CRM application. So all of a sudden, they now can talk to each other. When something changes over here, something changes over there. And then Microsoft has brought to the table the Power Platform. And I think a lot of people know about Power BI, and Power BI is used as one of its Microsoft's leading insights tool. Power Apps has been really utilizes this common data service. So wherever inside your business, you are still using paper, whether there's a manual process, what Microsoft says, if an ERP or CRM or one of our Dynamics 365 applications doesn't do it out of the box, create a power app in a day, utilize the data that's sitting there. So choose the customer that you're working on, whatever you're writing down on the piece of paper that's probably information already sitting somewhere in an ERP system, but you don't have the functionality, and just create a power app to digitally transform whatever that process is. But probably the most powerful part of this is Power Automate, because Power Automate is the tool that Microsoft uses to, as it sounds like, automate the flow of data and functionality between all applications on the Microsoft framework. So if something happens in my ERP system, if something happens in my Outlook system, do something else somewhere if it satisfies a particular parameter. And that's what Power Automate does. And out of the box, there's all these connectors between all the Microsoft tools, but it really takes this Microsoft Dynamics 365 and Power Platform to now be so much more than just integrated ERP and CRM and Office, breaking down silos so you have more information or more efficiency. Microsoft Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform is now a complete business process automation solution that if there are tasks that are being done that can logically be automated in some way, we now have access to the data and we have access to the tools to automate that throughout your organization. And that's what Microsoft is now bringing to the table with Dynamics 365. We obviously still need to talk about ERP and CRM functionality, and can we handle your complex consolidation, or can we handle your complex warehousing, whatever. Obviously, that's a big part of it, and these mature systems, more times than not, can handle that. But one of the reasons why this has gained so much momentum in the market is because it's not just about ERP and CRM functionality anymore. It's about how all the technology you use in your business works together to provide those, back to those, I guess, those 4 tenets. Just being able to engage your customers in ways that have never happened before, the ways to empower your people, make your staff happy to use the systems, drive their satisfaction through achieving their goals for the business, and transforming the way that whatever you're offering the market, transforming those products and services in ways no other because of technology. And then that back end, doing more with less, making sure there's streamlined operations that, that costs, you don't have those costs of operations unless you need those costs. But what it's doing with data, and where data is so important. So we're unifying all that, but we're also unifying the data. And that's how we ensure that continuous improvement occurs through data. The more data that we have access to, the more data that builds up over time, the more continuous improvement Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform can drive in your business by utilizing cloud computing and the technologies and artificial intelligence and machine learning and all the flows that we've spoken about. So look, I really hope that resonated. It's obviously sometimes difficult to apply apply information to specific solutions and specific businesses, but I hope that did really ring true in your organizations. I'll stop just there, and I guess I'll ask Tim. There's usually a few questions that people do ask about this, so I might just bring Tim in. Tim, are you there? Awesome. Look, Tim, I don't know what you want to add there, but one of the questions that we do get a lot is where is our data? You're doing so much with our data. Where is our data, and what assurances can you give us around that?
Yeah, thanks, Adair, and thanks for inviting me to this webinar today. It's really good to kind of join and listen to what you're saying, but also hopefully connect with some customers. I think when we look at data and we look at a number of things that have happened over the years around privacy, keeping customers' data safe, and Microsoft runs on trust. In fact, we have a specific site called trustcenter.microsoft.com that handles a lot of these questions. But to get to the point of the question, the data is in the region where you're using the service. So to put that in plain English, if you're running the Australian service, then your data is here in Australia, and it has redundancy within this region as well. And what that means is not only is the data stored in this region, but the backup of that data, that data redundancy side, is actually also within this region in a different area, to make sure that we've got capability of if anything went wrong, to recover your data. Does that kind of answer the question?
Yeah, it is one that does come up. It's actually, look, 5 years ago when Dynamics 365, or 4 years ago, came out, it was a huge question. I think the comfort that the market has is definitely a lot different. That's where I see it. Another question.
Sorry, I'll just jump over you for a second. But I think the other thing that I didn't mention, I mean, the thing is, different countries have different laws around data sovereignty, right? So where it's allowed to go, where it's allowed to be stored, and Australia at the moment is fairly open to a certain degree, but other countries aren't. So Business Central in particular, and our Dynamics 365 platform, are ready for, if the Australian government says your data can't go out of this country, so specifically in some of our defence areas and government areas, it can't. So there's a specialised, centralised service for them area as well. Then we're ready to do it. I mean, you could imagine if you're in a situation where your data is being stored maybe over in the US at the moment, and you're connecting to that data, it wouldn't be a great place to be in the future if data sovereignty actually affected your business.
Yeah, awesome. Having dealt with Microsoft for a long time, I've obviously seen a big change in Microsoft's attitude to other technologies. Obviously, in the last 20 minutes or so, now I have spoken about a really comprehensive and complete solution. And one of the questions I got is, does Microsoft allow other technologies? I know people are sometimes using a Shopify, or might be using a competing CRM system and things like that. What's Microsoft's take on that?
Yeah, it's open these days. We literally, I've worked at Microsoft a couple of times. I've been working for Microsoft, left and come back again. And there was an era where certain devices you would not show up to work with, right? You'd show up with your Microsoft phone, and pretty well everything you'd show up with was Microsoft. So there was that era early, a long time ago. But now, I actually have multiple systems in my house: Androids, iOS devices, so Apple devices, and a whole heap of things. So when we build something now, and if you look at you just have to look at Power Automate, for instance, that connects products like Business Central to other products, and see all the out-of-the-box connectors that are there, that are for products that are from other companies other than Microsoft, and you can see that we're not a closed shop. We're very much open, and we understand that these days, if you run an Apple, you can run Outlook on your Apple, you can run Outlook on your iPad, you can run Outlook on your Android phone, whether it's Samsung or whatever. And these days we're very open shop. So we have plenty of connectors. And what the connection is about, which I think we're going to come up to shortly anyway, the connection is, and I suppose this is around when you were talking about Parrots before, the connection is very important, because when you think about it, I build something and I want to use data from a source. I don't want to replicate data when I don't have to. I want to have that one source, but I want to have access to the source. So even just to something as simple as using a piece of paper to fill out a form, me writing down the details versus looking up the details and taking those details from another system, doesn't have to be Dynamics, and putting them into a digitized form, can A, make sure that you've got the right information down, and B, make the experience much better for the person using the device, which is very important these days. And at the final thing, makes actually the whole experience faster. So why should I have to write down the customer's address on a form when I have a system in my office that's already got those details?
Yeah, no, thank you, Tim. Thank you, Tim. I think, look, we're probably hitting the half hour, and I do want to be prompt here. So look, I'll leave it there. There haven't been any specific questions that have come through. Look, I think I should just really touch on the next steps. Look, if Microsoft Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform does interest you, look, the typical next steps are, look, contact me. If you've obviously got other contacts in Microchannel, please feel free to contact them, of course. But look, my contact details are there. How we typically, we spend a little bit of time understanding your business, understanding what your priorities are, understanding what is the important things for your organization. And then we would usually provide a tailored demonstration to you. So we actually would show you how Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform would meet those requirements, and really show you showing how Microsoft would do those 4 tenets, right, of empowering employees, optimizing operations. And then if you're not quite there yet, look, please, happy to talk even if you're not right there. But look, we are running, you know, we obviously love Dynamics 365. We do have our virtual event running on the 11th and 12th of November. So please check your inbox for your invitation. If you're on this webinar, you will definitely be getting an invitation. But please feel free to always reach out to me on my mobile phone there, or my email. But thank you for your time. I'm hoping that half an hour was really something that gave you value and really hopefully opened your eyes up to what Microsoft is doing in unifying business technologies for really great benefits to businesses, and that's what we're showing for our customers. Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful day.